Hi, it's Debbie May with Wholesale Supplies Plus. I'm in the studio today. We recently got a bunch of questions on the new Shea 50, and I thought I'd use this opportunity to make 3 recipes for you guys live. So we're going to hang out for just a few minutes. If you get a chance, hit the share button and share this with all your friends, and let's get a big party going. It'll be a spooky, spooky Halloween. You're going to see I'm off to the side. Occasionally I'll lean over. I'm able to read your comments. So go ahead and wave hi and let me know where you're from and kind of what you want to hear about. So we're going to go ahead and start in 2 minutes. So go ahead and share and hang in there. Hi Sandy, so glad you're joining us. I'm really excited. We're just going to hang out a few more minutes before we get started. Think of it as like girls having pumpkin spice latte. So I hope all is well in North Carolina. It's 82 degrees here in Cleveland, Ohio today. So I'm in long sleeve shirts because I already packed away my summer clothes. Hi Tiffany, super glad you're here. Jessica from Michigan. I actually grew up in Michigan, so hello from a former fellow Michigander. Are you guys busy making things for fall? Go ahead and just comment. I'll be able to read it. We're going to go ahead and get started in 1 minute. Make sure you share up above so all of your friends can go ahead and watch, and we'll go ahead and spread the soapy handmade love. I'm going to do 3 projects today. A really fun bath salt, a bath bomb, and what's the other one we're going to do? A really fun skeleton gingerbread soap. So all of them are really cute for PTA groups, if you're the room mom, or to sell at craft shows. So I'm just waiting for the team behind us to give me the go-ahead that we're ready to go, and we'll get going. All set? Hi Sabrina, super glad you're there. Oh my gosh, Stephanie, welcome from Canada. So we're going to go ahead and get started. First, I want to let you guys know Handmade Magazine finally arrived. It is a little bit delayed because of all the rain and hurricanes, so all of the subscriptions are going out today, and it's available to purchase starting today. There's a lot of just a lot of really fun inspiration for the holidays. Talks about our new indigo powder. So if you get a chance, check it out, add it to an order, Handmade Magazine. And otherwise, we're going to get started with a really fun, I call it a spooky bath salt. It's packaged in these really cool Halloween handbags, and I'll show you an easy way to fill these. But what we're going to do is make some bath salts, color them a really fun lime green, and then package them up. So if you've not made bath salts, they're really quick, they're really easy. Today I'm using the salt blend, but you could use a solar salt, a European salt, a dead salt, Epsom salt, any kind of salt you want to use. First thing I'm going to do is take a clean bowl and put it on my scale, and I'm going to tear it out. And what that means is I'm eliminating the weight of the bowl, so I know just how much salt. And I really like the salt blends. Wholesale Supplies Plus carries both a European blend and a Dead Sea blend. And the reason why I like it, I don't know if you can tell, I'll kind of try and hold it up, but we do a blend of all the different size particles. So there's the fine grain, the medium grain, and the large grain. And I like that for a bath because they dissolve at a different rate. I find if I just use the coarse grain salt, I sometimes end up sitting on some of the salt. It doesn't fully dissolve. And by having a blend of all 3, it dissolves at just at an equal rate. So 16 ounces or 1 pound is what's in the bowl. The first thing I'm going to do is add my fragrance. And today I chose the Crafter's Choice Witches Brew because I thought it was really fun with the handbag. A lot of times people ask, how much fragrance do you add? In this case, I'm just adding about 2 milliliters. You don't need much. The fragrances are super, super strong. Just going to use this as my garbage bag. And it dilutes in the bathtub water, so you have to be less concerned about exposure and more concerned about the packaging that you're going to put it in. And what I'm smelling, if you've not smelled this fragrance before, I actually did not look at the description, but what I'm smelling is a lot of patchouli, a little bit of cedarwood, and there's another note of something. I'll have marketing put on the in the comments what the description, the full description is, but it's a really, it's a fun blend. It's Witches Brew. So now I'm going to add the Brilliant Lemon Lime, and I like this color. It's a liquid color, and I'm just going to add a couple drops because it gives me a really, really spooky sort of fluorescent color without it being a dye. I'm going to go ahead and add a few more drops. One of the things, one of the questions I've gotten since our last Facebook Live video is, tell me about the Shea 50 that's new to Wholesale Supplies Plus. And it's a shea butter that has been pre-solubilized, so it'll go into water-based products. So you don't need to add the poly 80. And you're able, and you don't get the slip that you would get with using just a shea butter. So I'm going to go, you can use it really up to about 1% is what I like. And in this case, I'm just going to add about 2 milliliters. It's thick. Move this around so you can see it. There we go. I'm going to add about 2 milliliters, and you're going to have to squirt hard to get it out. You could weigh it, but I find for bath salts it's just as good just to use the dropper. You could add a little bit more if you'd like. When I made this recipe earlier, though, I thought the 2 milliliters was about right at the bathtub. And you can see what a cool green color the lemon lime made. If I hold it up. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to take these bath salts and spread them out on a cookie sheet. I like the jelly roll pan that I have here because it has an edge. And you'll want to just get a nice fine layer. And if I was making these at home to either give out in school bags at Halloween parties, I would not give them out for trick-or-treating for fear a child might eat them. But if I was going to give them out for a party, I'd let these sit for about a day and really dry out. You could put saran wrap over it with a few pinholes if you want to minimize the fragrance. But you really want them to dry out from the fragrance and the Shea 50. And let's pretend, fast forward, that we did that. I'm then going to take one of the bags, and one of the really cool things about this Halloween handbag is there's 50 of them, or 15, that come in a set with 15 tin ties. I am not super coordinated, which is not shocking to anyone that works at Wholesale Supplies Plus. So for me to try and fill this, I would make a huge mess. So what I did is put the bag in a jar and then pulled the edges over. And this way, I can just fill right from my tray. And remember, in real life, I would have let this sit for about a day and really dry out. Feel free to ask questions. We've got people answering. I personally take a bath every night. My kids laugh at me. I don't know if it's the generation I came from. I remind them regularly that when they were little kids, they also took a bath every night because it was my way to calm them down. So I'd go ahead and fill this up. Let's go a little bit more. Go ahead and take this out of the jar now. And I'm going to spread them into the fingers, the salt. I used last year we had extra bags and I took them home and I actually filled these with popcorn and gave them out at Halloween. I had forgotten to go shopping for chocolate. And my kids tell me I was the hit of the neighborhood. So we'll just go ahead and fill these. So as you can see, we would go all the way up. And then they come with, the bags come 15 in a set, and then they come with these really cute tin ties. So this bag has, I'll weigh it for you. I would fill it up a little bit more if I was going to sell it. And it weighs, just to give you an idea, this one bag holds 8 ounces. So you would get 2 hands per recipe. So that's the spooky bath salt Halloween hand treat. Cute for parties. Again, in fact, I think my 16-year-old's probably going to claim this now that I look at it. But it's really super quick. And if you guys have any questions on bath salts, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to keep moving on. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you guys like it. Thank you. Okay. Up next, we are going to make bath bombs. We made some of these earlier. I should say marketing made these for me earlier. I was in a meeting. But we're going to make, these were only made, what, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours ago? And you can see how hard they are. So we're going to go ahead and go through how to make these. And the really fun thing with these is they're made with the Shea 50. So it's shea butter that's already been made water soluble. So you don't need, with this recipe, the cool thing is you don't need rubbing alcohol or witch hazel spray, and you don't need poly 80 because you don't have the butters to stick to the tub. So it's a really cool recipe. So let me get started. Let me unpack my things. I have my bowl. I'm going to go ahead and tear it out. I have my baking soda, citric acid. We're going to add a little bit of kaolin clay because it helps make the bath bombs harder, faster. The bath bomb orange color. And I have rubbing alcohol because just in case it doesn't stick, but it should stick. This one we picked Autumn Day fragrance oil. The Autumn Day to me smells, I don't know, I smell a little peach, but there's not supposed to be peach in it, but that's what I smell. I don't know, what's the description online? You guys will have to put it in the comments. I smell a little bit of peach, a little bit of fall, a little bit of woods, almost not cedar wood, just like a light white wood. And then of course the Shea 50 again. And let's see. This recipe, I'm going to be honest, I have not made it. And the reason why I didn't make it on purpose before we went live is I want you to see what it's like to make this as if you bought the kit and you had no idea what you were walking into. So I'm going to read the recipe just like if you bought the kit, and we're going to kind of do this together. And it is now a kit. Is it a kit on the it's a recipe on the website. It will be a kit on the website. They literally just made this probably about a week ago, went through the testing, remade it, and we're good. So you're going to see me reading from a recipe. And on here I have just some other equipment. So first thing on the recipe is 4 ounces of baking soda. I've already teared out my bowl. and that's 4 ounces. And some people will tear it out again right now and add. I'm not that confident of a maker, so I like to do a separate one because sometimes it clumps and dumps. And then you do 2 ounces of citric acid powder. And just like that, I did 2.2. So this way I'm able to add a little bit back. Okay, and there's my 2 ounces. I'm going to add that right to the big bowl. I'm going to give it a little bit of a stir and a mix. I will need, can you grab me 2 gloves and a medium, please? I don't know if you've not done a whole lot with bath bombs, but citric acid can be really, really hard on your hands. I was just reading on Facebook last night, somebody did so many bath bombs without gloves on that their hands peeled. I'm also one that loves a nice manicure, and I really don't want to go get a new manicure, so they're going to go get me a couple gloves. This is all mixed in real good. We're then going to add 0.25 ounces of the Kaolin clay. Thank you.
We have a question.
Yes.
Could I add Epsom salt to the recipe? If so, how much can I add?
I have not tested Epsom salt in this recipe. Right now, I cannot get these open. One sec. Can I have a pair of scissors? Oh, got it. Thanks. You can add Epsom salt to bath bombs, but a couple things are going to happen. The granule is a little bit larger, so you're not going to get a nice tight seal on your, like around. You're not going to get a smooth surface. You're also going to risk that salt possibly drawing moisture to itself and causing the bath bomb to activate. So while it can be done, we don't typically do it, and I wouldn't encourage it. Good question. So I'm going to go ahead and tear out this scale. And again, I'm going to add 0.25 ounces. If you're prone to breathing problems, you should wear a mask because the citric acid is very, very airborne. I'm going to go ahead and put my gloves on at this time, and I'm going to get in there, and I see just a few clumps that before I add the liquids, I want to go ahead and break up. Because you want that 2-to-1 ratio with the baking soda and the citric acid. So you want to go ahead. You could put this through a sifter. I think it's pretty easy just to break up the clumps with your hands. Perfect. Okay, next the recipe calls for 0.1 ounces of Shea 50. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach back behind here and get a small beaker. I love these beakers if you have never used them. They're microwavable, they're great for lip products, but I love measuring because they're easy to sort of scrape out of. So in this case, 0.1 ounces. Oh, I'm going to first do 1 ml, 1 ml of fragrance. And then I'm going to do 0.1 ounces of the Shea 50. excuse me. And just scrape it all out. Now you can add color to choice. We're going to go with a pink. Excuse me, a peach. Go ahead, is there a question? Okay. And go ahead and mix this all up really well. It's not quite as wet as I would like it to be. So let me go ahead and see if I've got any extra Shea 50. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and do the, you can see it clumps a bit like sand. So just keep working it. And then I am going to use I like it a little bit wetter, so I'm going to use just a little bit of the rubbing alcohol. And I like a 91%. You can get it in the drugstore. Not much at all. And you can see that little bit really, really made a difference. If you're just joining us, I'm Debbie May from Wholesale Supplies Plus. Go ahead and give a shout out welcome from where you're located. Make sure you share this and you join our Facebook page, and you can see some new ones we have coming, new live videos we have coming up. Okay, so what I will do is I first put a whole bunch in this side, a whole bunch in this side, and kind of pack it. You want to overfill. And I love these bath bomb clamshells. You take it, push really hard and twist. Take one side off, and I like to clean it so there's not a whole bunch of extra. Push, and then I'll leave it right here to harden. This is just a guest loaf mold that I use for soap making, but I find it's really, really good for this. And you almost think the powder isn't wet enough, but if you squeeze hard, it does stick together. So don't add too much liquid, because all that'll do is cause them to prematurely fizz or get dimples.
We have a question from Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Does the 91%, the 91% doesn't it make it pre-fizz?
It does not make it pre-fizz. It actually, because it's so much alcohol and not water added, it will not pre-fizz. So just break off the sides. And then just set it in there. So I would go ahead and do all of this. And do one more. Any other questions? And you can reuse these molds. You can package it if you want in these molds, or you can unmold them and reuse the molds. I'm getting over a cold, you guys. I'm sorry if I'm sniffing. I might not have enough left in the bowl. No. I would have to make one more batch.
I have a question from Alicia.
Hi, Alicia.
Opposed to RA, could you add more Shea 50?
You could add some more Shea 50. That's a great idea. It will work. We have tried that. If you didn't want to use the rubbing alcohol, absolutely. I wouldn't add any real butter. I would just go ahead and add a little bit of Shea 50 to give it the volume or the fluid, but that will not cause it to fizz. Any others? Nope. Okay. So then I'm just going to show you the ones we made a few hours ago. And you can see that Bath Bomb Orange, we gave it a nice peach color. There we go. And you can just clean them off a little bit. And then I would wrap these for Halloween. I would wrap these maybe in purple tissue paper, tie the two ends, and you could call them Halloween bath treats, spooky bath treats. So that's it. I read online that people have a whole lot of trouble with bath bombs. Using this recipe with the Shea 50, have the little bit of 91% on hand if you think you might need it, or maybe add some more Shea 50, but it's a foolproof recipe. Make sure you use the Kaolin clay. That is a huge secret. And otherwise, now you're in the bath bomb business. So go ahead and ask any questions. I'm going to go ahead and get set up for the next
Tiny wants
project.
to ask, what salt did you use again?
I did not use any salt in this. I used baking powder, citric acid, kaolin clay, Shea 50, fragrance, and color. That's it. 5 simple ingredients. The spooky hands, I used the European Spa Salt blended Wholesale Supplies Plus. So, thanks, Laura. You use the kaolin clay too, Marlene? It is a secret weapon. So you're going to see me for a second step off camera. I'm going to get the next project. Okay. Are you guys making Halloween products yet or not? Is it a little bit too soon for you guys? I know the cold process soap makers out there have been, but what about the melt and pour and some of the others? Have you guys started making products for Halloween? Yes. Great. Okay, so this next recipe, what we're going to make is this cute little guy. He is the newer Milky Way skeleton gingerbread man, and it is super, super easy to make. And what I like about this soap is that if it doesn't sell at Halloween, you can melt him all down and just make a bar of soap for then Thanksgiving. Although I think he's kind of cute year-round. So this is the Milky Way mold. You end up with 3 cavities. He's in about the size of the traditional gingerbread man. So with this, we are going to use 2 different soap bases. We are going to use the Crafter's Choice Sparkle Brown soap. And I really like this soap because it's pre-colored, so it's consistent batch to batch. I don't have to worry about mixing color in. It's good for Halloween. It's great for Thanksgiving. So this is a really good deal. And the other one we're going to use is the Melt and Pour Ultra White. In this case it's the basic white, but it's a white soap. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to work out the detailing of the bones because it's the bottom of the mold. So we're going to melt first just a little bit of white soap. I'm not going to use the scale right now. Put my mat down. They tease me because I come in here and play in the studio and I make the biggest mess. So these mats are really nice. I got them at Bed Bath & Beyond, and they're great for cutting and just keeping your surface clean. And you really just need a little tiny bit of the white soap to do those bones. So what I'm going to do is cut, gosh, it's not even an ounce of soap, and I'm going to return the rest of the white soap to the tray. And I like the Crafter's Choice soap because it comes with a lid, so it's stored really nice and secure. I'm going to leave the lid off, and the reason is I know I cut too much white soap, so we will pour any extra back in there. I'm going to go ahead and heat it, not even for 5 seconds. Let's see what it looks like after 5. Oh, maybe a little bit more than 5. If you heat it too hot, you don't hurt the soap in this case, but you have to wait longer for your second pour. Perfect. That was 10 seconds. So what we're going to do is don't fragrance this soap. You want this soap to stay really, really white. I'm going to take my gloves off. And you take a dropper. Just clear some of this off so you guys can see real well. Just take a dropper, and you're just going to place the soap into the bones of the little gingerbread man. His little toes. Thank you. And his skull. And you don't want it to, you only want it to go in the grooves and crevices because behind that will be the brown soap. And then what happens is you get a little bit of, you'll get bubbles because it's soap, and just spray rubbing alcohol, it'll pop those bubbles right up for you. You just have to be super, super patient. Make sure you get his fingers and all of the mouth. So feel free to chime in, you guys, if there's any other ways that you detail your soap design molds, especially with the Milky Way molds. I'd love to hear tips. Sometimes if I'm doing this at home, I will have a nice glass of red wine next to me, some music playing, and I don't know, there's something about this part of soap making, the details, the swirling, that's so relaxing. Make sure the fingers. Again, I don't know if you can tell there, but I have a bunch of bubbles. If I tipped it, all the white would go forward. And then if you end up, I would go ahead and do that for the third one. You guys don't need to watch that. Any extra soap, I just pour right back into my tray and use it for another project. If I'm making a lot of soap over a few days, I would leave that soap in this beaker and put saran wrap over it and rubber band it, and then I can just re-microwave that little bit.
We have a question from Peggy.
Hi, Peggy.
Or sorry, not Peggy. Brenda.
Hi, Brenda.
She's asking why you don't spray the mold so it doesn't stick, or did you miss doing that?
No, that's a good question. So Peggy's asking, why didn't I spray this with a vegetable spray or something? Melt and pour soap is water-based, so you don't want to introduce a vegetable spray to the mold. That spray will actually float off of the mold and to the back of your bar of soap. The vegetable spray is common for cold processed soap because that's an oil-based soap, so that is a common way to help get the soap out. But for melt and pour soap, you don't want to spray with a silicone, a PAM, vegetable spray, nothing like that. Vaseline, those are all bad wives' tales. Bad advice for melt and pour soap. Good question.
Marcella asks, if I accidentally pour too much white, is the soap ruined, or is it easy to clean the extra white soap?
Yep, so I think, was that Marcella's question? Marcella, great question. I'm just waiting for this to harden a little bit. I think if I hold this up, can the camera see it? I think it's just barely hard enough. So you'll see that I have some soap in areas I don't want soap. Can you kind of see that on camera? And so all I do is I take my nail and scrape it off. You can use a clean dropper, or the other tip is a soap popsicle stick. That works. Some craft tools work. You could use just a small spatula. You don't want to use a knife because you don't want to jab through the plastic. You could use a knife if you're super, super careful. But you can see I got some on the side here from when I tilted it, and I just sort of scrape it off. Sometimes a paper towel nearby. If worst case is you have soap where you don't want it and you've unmolded it, you can sort of take it, let's say it's a little bit down here, you can take and just sort of peel it off a little bit. It'll come right off. Good question. So while this is hardening, I'm going to go ahead and do my brown soap. And I'm going to cut, I'm trying to think. These look, I did not look up before coming on camera how many ounces these are, but if I had to guess, these are 2.5 to 3 ounce bars. So that means for all of these, I would need maybe 9 ounces of soap. I'm going to use this really cool funnel pitcher, and the reason why I like it is because I can weigh into it and then I can microwave in it also. I don't need to dirty a Pyrex cup. So I'm going to go ahead and tear out the weight of that. So my scale says 0. Let me get my cutting board back. I know this is a 2 pound tray, so half would be 16 ounces, and this would be about 8 ounces. So I like to cut it in smaller pieces so that it melts faster. The other nice thing about smaller pieces is that you don't have some that are unmelted and some that's boiling. It just tends to melt a little bit more consistently. If you're just tuning in, I'm Debbie May from Wholesale Supplies Plus. Make sure you share and like the page. Got lots of more Facebook videos planned based on your comments and your questions. Also, if you have anything that you'd like to see us do next week or in the next few weeks, let us know. Okay, that's a little bit over. Perfect. 8 ounces. If you're tuning in after work and you're on YouTube, make sure you like the page and you'll get notices when we upload more live recorded live sessions. So I'm going to go ahead and first microwave this for about a minute. This is where the do 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 music plays. So go ahead and ask some questions. A dental tool, Brenda, is a great idea. Especially not the pokey one, but kind of that scraper one. I don't know if that's the one you use. And for those of you that are new to our Facebook Lives, I do have a screen off to my right where I'm able to read your questions in your comments. I will repeat the recipe at the end. Great question or comment. Okay. So let's see what we have here. You can see after a minute, I still have some chunks. It's very liquid. I'm just going to go for about 30 seconds more. I'm going to ask the team behind, do we have this recipe online yet? Not yet? Okay. I'll go ahead and make sure we get the recipe online for you, but I'll still go over it before the end of the video. This was one of the recipes that I saw the little gingerbread man at Handmade Studio and said, oh, Wholesale needs to know how to do this, the customer. So I grabbed it and said, let's go. One of the unique things with our videos, we don't do a lot of pre-planning. Is Abby, our social media manager, will tell you she wishes I was a bit more planned out. But I really like these to kind of be like you and I pulling up some coffee, pulling out some supplies, and just ask me how to do it. I've done this for 20 years. I know most of the tips and tricks. Sometimes you guys have better tips and tricks. But I just want it really informal, and I want you guys to feel like you're family and friends, and you can just ask about anything. So this is liquid. It is, if you don't have a digital thermometer, they're super cool. You just push the button and you can aim. It's currently 72 degrees in here. But I like it because you can measure the temperature of your soap. And when doing a layered soap, it's really important that the second pour or the second layer isn't too hot, because if it is too hot, you'll just melt that first layer and you won't have these pretty skeleton bones. So we're right about a 143. I'm going to go ahead and add the fragrance. This fragrance that we're doing is the pumpkin and cardamom, and I love this fragrance. It is a great blend for Halloween, and it's perfect going into Thanksgiving. I can't say it smells like cookies, but it has a wonderful, wonderful aroma. And remember, what I had mentioned before, some of the feedback I get is that people don't always make Halloween soaps because they're not sure if they're going to sell. And the nice thing about this recipe is if you do make it for Halloween and you try it at your craft shows and it doesn't sell, the pumpkin cardamom fragrance is such that you can melt the whole bar, pour it into an oval or a square bar loaf, and make just a whole new soap for fall. Maybe tie it with raffia or something. So don't be afraid of Halloween. I think these are super fun. If you're a room mom, they are really, really fun. Just make sure you put do not eat, because this fragrance does smell like you would want to eat it.
Question from Heather.
Yes. Hi, Heather.
How can you tell if you have overheated the soap? I have heard that if you overheat, it causes more glycerin dew. Is that true as well?
Yes. Great question. You'll know that you're overheating the soap, one, if it boils, if you have bubble boil lines. But anything over about a 160, I would consider overheating. You really, when you stir it, if you're in that 170, 180, you're steaming off a lot of the water that's naturally in the soap, but leaving some of the glycerin. So you're actually concentrating the glycerin percentage in the melt and pour soap, which will cause it to attract, glycerin attracts moisture, it'll cause your soap to sweat. So you really want to go in short bursts, stir, and keep it down below 160 if you can. That's the ideal. If you're making this in production, I think 2 or 3 videos ago we talked about use a double boiler, or you can even put it on a very, very low heat saucepan, or I made about 100 bars of a duck soap for a family in need. And I melted some like this first, poured it in the saucepan, put it on simmer, added more soap, waited till it was all melted, and I was able to keep really the temperature in the 135 range. So that's a great question. You want to avoid glycerin dew. That is like the worst thing because it just gets slippery and slimy. So we're currently at a 139, so shoot me more questions, guys. Remember, this is 8 ounces of soap. So I'm going to add, normally if it's a pound of soap, you can go a half ounce of fragrance, which is 15 mLs. This you could go 7. The fragrance is super, super strong. So I'm just going to go 3 mLs. Ooh, wrong dropper. 3 mLs. And I think that's, I'm going to stir the soap, but that's about as strong as I'm going to like this. Just because something can be done doesn't always mean it should be done. So you could go higher if you want, but you don't want that soap so offensively strong that it takes over the other soaps at your craft show table or just in your home. Starting to thicken up here. We're at a 136. I'd like to be down a little bit lower. When you use the digital thermal gun, and if you can see, I've got, it's these two, this gun's nice because it measures 2 different points and then gives you the average. You want to stir the soap because the soap on the surface will not be as warm as the soap underneath. We're still at about a 138. So feel free. How can you tell? Oh, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the recipe now, Pam, if that's okay. In this case, we used just a little bit of white soap, melt and pour soap. We used the Crafter's Choice Basic White. We did not fragrance it. We melted it in that small beaker, and we used a dropper to put the bones in place. Then I melted 8 ounces of sparkle brown soap, and it's already colored. It's a Crafter's Choice pre-colored base. And I added 3 milliliters, but you could go up to 7 milliliters of pumpkin cardamom fragrance oil. And that's it. It's really a very simple recipe. Yay, we're at a 129, so we're going to go for it. I like to set my molds on a tray so that I'm not doing this as if I want to put them in the refrigerator or something to unmold them, or if I'm moving them for another project, I tend to spill, so I just set it on a tray. It's easier. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour over the spatula, because if I pour right on the soap, I risk breaking through. Very, very important. Spritz heavily with rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol is the glue that holds the 2 soaps together. Without it, your bones might fall off. You just go back and forth. This one I didn't do the bones because you guys saw it. And I love the funnel picture, you guys. You can heat in the microwave with it. It's perfect. I then like to spritz with 1 light to pop the little bubbles that have formed from pouring. And that's it. If I was at home, I would let this naturally cool. I would not put it in the refrigerator. I then, to unmold, we have a video that you can watch at Wholesale Supplies Plus on how to unmold from a plastic mold. I would put a piece of saran wrap over this. I would put it in the freezer for about 15 minutes. I would take it out. I would take the saran wrap off, and they'll pop right out. If you have any trouble, you can run the back side of the mold under warm water, and the soap will fall out. The saran wrap is a relatively new tip that I have developed. And the reason I do that is because most freezers blow air, which means it's blowing moisture right onto your soap, and that can encourage the glycerin dew. The soap's already solid, so by putting the saran wrap over top, you're able to protect the soap from that blowing moisture, but it doesn't impact the back of your soap at all. So that's a new tip. And this bar we made, like I said, just a few hours ago. And you can see, I have some packaging, but you can see how cute he is. I'm going to move this off to the side. So there's a few things you can do. These are our 4.75 by 6.75 bags, I think. Yes, they are. They're telling me they are. Just slide it in and tie them really tight. And you can see how cute he is. You can put some of this in the bottom of the bag, I'll show you, but this you would just tie it up for fall. Isn't that cute? Or we can take some of, this is called Woodick Seltzer. A little bit goes a long way. It also makes a really big mess, but I think it's super cute. So we're going to put some of this in the bottom of the bag, just for a added, I don't know, oomph, texture, details. Sometimes it's just that little bit of added. I mean, that took no time, and it makes it look like you did so much.
We have a quick question from Bex. She wanted to know, how much heat can the funnel cup withstand your pour?
It can withstand a lot. We do cold process soap in those, so a couple 100 degrees. And if I had some scissors, I would go ahead. It's okay, you don't need to get them. I would just trim this up a little bit. And he's so cute. If I was at a craft show, I would charge, this is about a 3-ounce bar. I probably, frankly, would charge $4. Depends on your area. I would try to get 5 for this little guy. So that's it. Any other questions before we sign off? That's it. I really, really am glad you guys tuned in today. I hope you like the Facebook Live videos. We've spent hours working with the camera, the audio, all of your suggestions. And we're looking forward to just connecting with you guys in a more casual way, just like pulling up a cup of coffee. Let's make soap. Let's have fun. So that's it. I'm Debbie May with Wholesale Supplies Plus. Please make sure you share and like the page. Tune in next time, and let's have some fun. Thanks. Bye.